Hi, I'm Dee Good with Shambhala Mountain Center, and today I'm excited to have a conversation with Matt O'Grady. Matt is the author of Living Gratitude, and he'll also be leading a retreat for us at Shambhala Mountain Center coming up. So, welcome, Matt.
Thanks, Dee. Wonderful to be here.
Well, I'm excited to learn from you how you got into the gratitude business, so to speak, and tell me as well about the science part of it. I'm very curious about that.
Sure. Well, I got into it really from, more of a dark night of the soul situation, which is how often great growth begins. I didn't know that at the time, but I learned that through experience. I was getting out of the military. I was a disabled Navy veteran, and I was really sad. I was in my mid 20s, really sad, depressed, body really banged up, and I couldn't believe it. How did I go from what I felt like was this great life to just a few years later, depressed, sad, physically disabled, really in a tough spot. And I was in a bookstore and I just started coming across Louise Hay pieces. And I was like, oh man, this sounds like such a crock. I really don't believe it, but I'm not doing it. I feel terrible anyway. Let me give it a shot. And I was sitting there having lunch, reading one of her books, and I did a 10-second gratitude exercise. And I was shocked by the effect that it had and how quickly I felt something. I felt a shift, a change. It wasn't minute, it wasn't some small thing. It was something really tangible that I experienced in my heart, in my mind. I had to step back from my lunch and say, what is going on here? And that was the spark that really turned me on to gratitude. And ever since that day, I've been practicing it and studying it and teaching it and talking about it with anyone who will listen to me.
Wow, that's a great story. And so, how has it evolved over the years that you've been working with gratitude and writing about it and helping others connect with it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd say, a lot of it's similar. Once it became a daily practice for me, which was just a few months after that experience that I shared with you, because I was really resistant to it at first, but I just kept coming back to it because I was so emotionally sad and physically in pain. I had time, I couldn't do that much else at the time. I had a part time job. But other than that, I had time to kind of explore some things like meditation and Qigong and yoga. And the gratitude thing, as much as I loved all those other practices, the gratitude thing was really the most powerful thing that I could connect with at that time. And so I just started reading about how to incorporate it into my life, reading about the different exercises, exploring it more deeply in different areas of my life, which is really what I still do today for myself and for my clients and at speaking engagements where even in work situations. So I've gone into corporations and talked with them about, just this kind of philosophy of being more thankful in the workplace. And the reception, I was at a law firm, and I was shocked because I was like, oh man, a law firm, this could be a tough sell. Not a dry eye in the place when I was done, just having people do some simple exercises. For example, like, think of someone that you really care about, but you haven't connected with in some time. Either they've passed on or it's an old relationship or, from your childhood, but you're grateful to them. Even if the relationship was tough and it wasn't perfect, there's moments or experiences or situations where you're grateful. Just write a few sentences about it and then, we'll talk about it. I mean, that exercise had these lawyers and corporate types really, I mean, kind of shocked. They're looking at me like coming up, shaking my hand at the end, thanking me. Never knew that such a simple exercise of just a few minutes of a focus could change so radically their state. And so that's what happens for people who practice this on a regular basis.
Wow. And what is the science part that, how does that tie in with your experiential practice?
Sure. Like for me, the first decade or so that I was practicing, it was really just a practical tool that I found really helpful. So it was for my own life. And then as I started sharing with others, family, friends, and started getting into coaching people, and I went to holistic college and I was doing some of that. And people just seemed to suck it up. It was sponge, it's so easy. We all have things we're grateful for, from as simple as the breath to some life-changing experience, or coming out of a bad health situation. We can often appreciate our lives that much more, and so different ways depending on the person. But then I started coming across and hearing, because I'm always searching and looking and studying, I started saying, oh wow, people are writing books on this. Scientists, Robert Emmons, one of the famous writers on the subject, and he was writing these books and people were loving it. Corporate, intellectual areas, academic areas, schools, coaches, teachers, people were just all of a sudden parents. It's really helpful with children. There's all these different areas. Post surgery, it helps with sleep and immunity and energy levels and relationships and self respect and self care. It seems to find its way for the people. Of course, you can't just practice it once a month and expect these benefits to occur. But if you're practicing even 5 or 10 minutes a day, you can expect some radical positive life changes. And I think this area of, quote unquote, positive psychology is really growing. And gratitude, thankfulness, and appreciation, along with, there needs to be some level of self-awareness, some level of mindfulness, right? Because that's the only way you can direct your attention to focus on something significantly with presence. And so I think that part can often get forgotten, and that's a really important aspect as well. And that's part of what I teach also, because one without the other is tougher. You can bring yourself together for a minute or two, but if you're practicing self-awareness throughout the rest of your day, you just start to see, wow, that leaf is something I can be radically grateful for. It's just so beautiful, how the light's hitting it, and just all of a sudden, and I'm feeling it now, I have chills all over my body as I talk to you, because the experience is so uplifting and it's so simple. I think we often get too caught up into the intellectual depth of practices, whether it's spiritual, self-development, self-care. It doesn't have to be that hard. And I think science is really helping kind of the gratitude and thankfulness movement, because they're saying, hey, these people coming out of surgeries, these people who never even would have picked up a self-development book or spiritual book, are practicing gratitude for 10 days and starting to change their lives.
Wow. So when you are going to be teaching this retreat for Shambhala Mountain Center, what can people expect that are going to participate with you? What will the retreat be like? What kinds of experiences?
I'm very excited about it. Well, they can expect a full exploration of gratitude, thankfulness, and appreciation in their lives. So, we start with some of the simple things like our bodies. We live in this vehicle, this divine thing, depending on the perspective of someone. And I think the more we look at this body and connect with it and practice gratitude for it, a really simple one that we do are the senses. We go through each sense and practice some mindfulness and attempt to be grateful for the experiences that we've had and the experiences we have and the experiences we will have. Because these senses, this body, this heart, this brain, this breath, is just always giving to us. And if we take just a few moments to acknowledge that I don't have to do anything, it's just there and it's giving to me a life experience, and more often than not, a whole lot of positive, what we can see, hear, taste, smell, touch, experience emotionally think about strategically. You know, we're just these like fascinating dynamic beings, and when we take the time to really take a look at it, gratitude is one of the things that just naturally flows upwards as an experience. And so we go there: relationships, sleep, health practices, work, self-care, self-appreciation. So we're going to go through all these different areas of our lives, practice some questions, we'll be in groups, we'll do some meditations, and really see what our experience of gratitude is. And as resistance comes up, which it will, we're going to work on softening that and finding strategies to work with it.
Sounds like an amazing immersion in gratitude. Well,
Yes.
thank you so much, Matt, for this conversation. And we're very excited to host you at SMC. And we hope folks will be able to join in that very special
Your pleasure.
retreat.
I'm excited too. Thank you so much.